Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Great.
So far, so good.
Good, Dan.
There we go. Hey, Coach. Long time no see. We will get started here whenever you're ready.
All right, guys. Yeah, I'll make the opening comments here brief. Obviously, we have a tremendous opponent on Sunday. I think everybody's well aware of how good they are. They're phenomenal. They're a legitimate national title contender. I really believe that. And I think Jawan has done an amazing job. He's continued on with this really phenomenal run that they've had in the last 10 years. You look at, John's last two teams, I believe, won 63 games and played on Monday night and got to a Sweet 16. And I really believe that this team, this current team that Jawan has would have had a 30+ win season too if we'd had a full season. He's deserving of every accolade. They've got tremendous depth and talent, and they've added to those younger guys that are now older livers. Obviously, retaining, I think in a lot of ways, Wagner was huge for them, the younger brother, because he's such a gifted and talented player. But they play, honestly, they very much take on I think the personality of Coach Howard, and that they play smart, composed, tough, highly competitive. It's kind of the way that I remember him playing. So great challenge. I know we've got to get our guys right physically after last night, and that's been our focus here today, along with preparing for these guys.
Sorry about that. We'll start off with Adam Jardy. Adam?
Sorry, I lost the connection for half a second there. Chris, you just off the top there, you mentioned like trying to get healthy today. Did Seth come through the night okay? Like, just how are you guys doing as a group as you've had a little time to reflect?
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay. We'll know more in a day, but he's banged up. He and Kyle. We'll see. Kyle will be. I think he'll be okay, but he's going to need some time off between now and game time. He's going to need some time off.
And I thought it was interesting a moment ago. You said how Michigan, in a lot of ways, has maybe taken on some of the characteristics of JaeSean. And I know maybe your career didn't quite get to your playing career didn't quite get to the same heights as his, but
not close.
Do you feel that your teams take on some of the characteristics of how you play? Do you see some things in how you try to approach the game as a player and the teams that you coach?
Hope so, Adam. I hope so. I think that's always, that's always the case in a lot of ways, whether you want it to be the case or not. That is typically the case, is they are in some ways going to take on their personality, but they're also going to take on the personality of, I think, in a lot of ways. So I think, early in my coaching career, there were certain things that I tried to say I wanted to be about as a coach, and hopefully in a positive way, those guys, our team does that. And, they deserve credit for that they've embraced it, and I think believe in what we're doing. And again, you can see great belief with JaeSean's team as well. You just tell they've got great belief in what they're doing.
Okay, next up, Jared Smalley.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for doing this, by the way. You all have played against some excellent bigs already this year. You've done a nice job in some of those matchups in particular. This is a unique game because they've got a couple of bigs, Wagner and Dickinson. When I see it, at least it seems that they play well, not only individually, but play well together, sharing the ball well. What is that unique threat, and what does that present to your big men?
Well, I think it's what you see with every team right now that's performing at an elite level, is they are an extremely unselfish group, extremely unselfish. And I think you find that thread with every team right now that is playing at an elite level. They've got a ton of weapons. Hunter has really provided them. He's got great size. He's 7'2", and he's got really good length. Austin Davis backs him up, and he's good and physical and a challenge. But then their wings, they just have, when I say wings, Wagner's in that group, Livers, they're just, I know those guys are on draft boards, and for good reason. They're really good players. And those guys present challenges because of their versatility.
Okay, next up, Stephen Helwagen.
Hey, Coach. As you look at Michigan, obviously they had the 3-week hiatus, and that could have gone one of two ways for them. The first 20 minutes against Wisconsin, they didn't play very well, and then it was lights out basically after that. In studying those two games, Wisconsin and Rutgers, what in your mind, and I don't know how in depth you've just looked at those two games in the last 12 hours, but I don't know, just your thought, how are they different, better? What's been the solution for them, I guess, dealing with having to come back from that hiatus?
I could probably give you a better answer when I completely finish my my viewing of them. But you've not seen a tremendous drop off, Steve.
Okay.
There's not been one of these, and I think you see that in a number of teams. But I think the elite teams, you've not really seen much of a drop off after a COVID break in the elite teams. And I think Baylor may be on one now, or maybe coming off one. I don't know. I get lost with all that, but they'll be the same, I'm sure. And they appear to have honestly not skipped a beat from how good they were playing before.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about it last night, but how uncanny is it about Walker? 13 points and 7 assists, I think, last night. That may have been one of the better games he's played in his 2 years at Ohio State. And when you take it all into account, just for him to play, as he said after the game, with 3 fingers taped together. I mean, you guys somehow, some way, these veterans are finding a way to get the job done. I don't know what do you say about that? I guess.
Well, it's hard. He's a good player, really good player, and he's plays to win. Understands playing to win. Brings great maturity. Steve. He isn't fully healthy, but he's in a great rhythm right now too. He's playing with a lot of confidence and in a great rhythm.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, Spencer Holbrook.
Chris, when you have a guy like EJ who was in foul trouble for most of the second half and still comes away with 23 and 5, and when he's on the floor, it was kind of starting to make the difference in the game there in the second half. What do you see out of him game by game that just makes you more confident in his ability? He seems like he just continues to get better with each game.
Yeah, he's playing with such great confidence right now, and he's such a difficult matchup offensively. The challenge for EJ is, his ball screen defense has to improve. He's got to help us more in some of those areas, but he's in just he is in such a tremendous confidence and rhythm right now offensively. And he's such a difficult matchup. And, again, when we recruited him, we always envisioned that he was going to be your prototypical matchup nightmare. That's what we did. We envisioned that. We just didn't know when it was going to be realized. And it's been realized here really quickly in Columbus.
I know you've already touched on a little bit of you guys being banged up, but how do you manage that when you come off of an emotional win like that last night, and then now you have to turn around and probably play the game of the year for you guys, maybe the game of the year in the entire conference? How do you manage that level of being banged up with still having to, knowing that you have to prepare for a team like Michigan?
Well, we got to do everything you got to do today. We got to sleep. We got to get sleep tonight. We got to hydrate throughout the day. Have to hydrate throughout the day. We got to get our smoothies and our vitamins from our nutrition staff. Q has to do a phenomenal job, which he will, in terms of a stretch recovery period in the weight room. Our guys that didn't play a lot of minutes are going to have to do some extra conditioning, and they're going to have to embrace that. The guys that are banged up are going to have to spend time with Brad and Q. We need to have a good cleanup film session to learn from the mistakes we made last night. And then we've got to go to bed. We got to go to bed. We got to get to sleep early and then get ready to go tomorrow.
All right, next up, Patrick Murphy.
Chris, I feel like when you guys play Michigan, we always ask about the rivalry, and it's different from football because you guys tend to play more than once a year. But this year, not only is there only one scheduled game, but it's 2 of the top teams in the country. Just how do you look at this specific matchup in terms of that kind of school versus school rivalry, maybe different than some of your previous years?
Listen, I recognize being here my 4th year, what this rivalry, and it really is a rivalry across every sport here, but I recognize what it is and what it means. We understand and what the game in football is, and I recognize the importance of that to our fan base. It's important to our players, and I think the best way to honor a rivalry is to respect it for what it is and to try to bring your best competitive stuff to it. And that's what we're going to try to do. That's what we've tried to do. They have a tremendous program. They have for a number of years now. Again, Juwan's done a phenomenal job. John did a phenomenal job. Clearly, it's a tremendous program. We've got great respect for him. You know, we're going to need to play our very best. And I'm excited about this because we've got a group that I think really embraces the idea of playing the very best. And we're excited about the challenge. I know our guys are, but, on a side note, I do have an overwhelming thought. I miss the fact that our fans can't enjoy these final games here. 3 out of 4 games are going to be at home, are going to be top 10 opponents. But this one in particular, I hate it that our fans can't be in the building, and I hate that for our players. But it's a great opportunity and great for college basketball.
Okay, Jacob, Buckeye Grove.
Yeah, hey Chris, Musa Jallow last night played 20 plus minutes, scored a season high points for himself. Just what did you see for him to play an extended amount of time? Because he talked about having a strong team first belief. Yeah,
I think Musa's been great. He was great last night. I've talked. I think there's games where he's going to be utilized and needed, and I thought he was terrific. He's got to continue to lead the way defensively, but I thought his cutting was tremendous. I love what he brought to us last night.
And with him being one of those veteran guards, how have you seen his team first mentality kind of develop from season to season?
Yeah, I think that's a maturity thing. I think he's grown. I think he loves this place, loves this school, plays for the school, understands what that means and represents. And sometimes that takes a little bit of time, but he's a really smart kid. He's a great kid. He cares about the right stuff. He's a joy to coach.
Thanks.
All right, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Hey, Chris, obviously, you guys talk all the time about how tough it is to win in the Big Ten any given night, but does this Michigan team take it to a different level in terms of a challenge for your team?
Sure. You look at everything they've done, and they've only lost one time in league play, and they've blown out a lot of people. Right after Purdue beat us here, they got Purdue pretty good at Purdue. They've just been really impressive. So right now, obviously, you look at them, and I believe what I said. They're a legitimate national title contender, and I think it's a great challenge for us to see kind of where we're both at.
Yeah. How much does it, make you feel like you say they're a legitimate national championship contender? How much do you go into this game feeling like we're going to learn something about our team on Sunday?
I think you love that about playing really good people. I think you love that. I mean, we learned stuff last night in last night's game, but I think you obviously, you really appreciate, that experience to learn kind of where you're at as a team right now as well. Last year we played a couple times, and we both had really in some ways similar seasons, great non-conferences. We stubbed our toes both a little bit in league play early, and then got in a good rhythm towards the closing stretch. And I think we're both going to be around a 4, 5, or 6 seed. So it's, they were good last year. They've taken it up a notch as this year for sure.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, Stephen Means.
Chris, given that it's only one game this year and all this other stuff, intangibles with it, are you able to maybe tap into some of those emotions with this rivalry a little bit more than maybe in other years where you're playing them multiple times?
Yeah, maybe. I think I think when you look at the game right now, being in late February, being where both teams are ranked, and only playing once in the regular season, certainly you could look at it and it really builds, to this. Now, it is one game, and we've got 3 more after that. But I do think all that is around this particular game, makes it a fun one for college basketball and a fun one for our fans, and obviously probably brings more attention because we're only playing once and because of the season both teams have had.
Thanks.
Okay, Brendan Gulick.
Hey, Chris. When you had a chance to watch the film of the game they played against Minnesota, where they just had an off night, how much of that game did you take away looking at Michigan saying, "Gee, they were really vulnerable in this area," as opposed to, man, it was just a tough night for them?
I thought Minnesota was really good that night, and we know what that feels like, right? We've been through that. I thought they were really good that night. They had a lot to do with that game being where it was. You always look at games like that. They haven't lost much, so you're always looking at that game and trying to see what you can figure out. They had a close game earlier in the conference season against Penn State, I believe a 4-point game. So you're looking at those things, but in that game, I think, for whatever reason, there have been teams that have went up to Minnesota and really struggled, and a lot of that is a credit to Minnesota.
Let's talk about Dwayne for a second. I know he gets a lot of flack because sometimes his inefficiency on the offensive end becomes a focal point, and I know you've semi-jokingly said he's going to take you to an early death or something to that degree. But last night he was probably as efficient as he's been all year, and he continued to do it in a clutch fashion when EJ got in foul trouble, and Dwayne seemed like he really stepped up in the second half. When you see him in clutch moments, do you hold your breath, or do you just know that Dwayne kind of lives and thrives for those opportunities?
Yeah, no, I think he's growing in his ability to make the right play late, and make the right decision late, and make the right decision in the guts of the game or throughout the course of the game. I think he's really grown in that area, and that's a credit to him. I think he continues to evolve as a player. His efficiency improves. Defensively, he was not at his best last night. He's got to be better, but he had an efficient offensive night for sure.
All right, Colin Haas-Hill.
Because I think a lot's going to be made of this game, and for good reason, since you guys are both top 5 teams. But if you look at the way that you guys are trending and both recruiting, it might not be the last time where there's a lot on the line. Or do you see that there's a lot that's going to go into this game, and a lot that's going to be talked about in this game, but the way that you guys are building your programs, you and Jawan right now, that this might not be the only one where there's big stakes.
I hope so, Colin. I hope so. I think that's great. That'd be great for both places. That'd be great for both universities. That would be great for college basketball. I hope so. And I think that's the thing that you feel good about, is that this is a February game that means a lot. This is not an early season game, but this is a February game that means a lot. I hope so. I do really like where we're recruiting. I like where we're at with that. I know they're recruiting at an exceptional level as well. So, I hope that's the case, and I think that would be great for both programs, both universities. Certainly, you could look at this and say that appears to be the case. It's our job as coaches to make sure that we're working every day to provide meaningful games, for our players, for our fans, and everybody in February and March.
Okay, Bruce Hooley.
Chris, I know you have to prepare in all different scenarios in the Big Ten, road game, coming back, playing. What's the minimum amount they give you? Is it Thursday? Could you conceivably play Saturday or Sunday? What I'm getting at is what is the difficulty of playing Thursday night road, Sunday afternoon early? Do you have enough time to do everything you want to do? Given that I know with a team like this, there's probably never enough time to do everything you want to do.
No, I would characterize it as a quick turnaround, Bruce. And, when we were looking at potentially, the change in the Penn State game, we had initially looked at flipping and going there first and here second, and we almost did it. It just didn't work out. We did. It was the only time I all year looked ahead at the calendar and the schedule and looked at, okay, how would this affect things? And I knew at that time, I did not anticipate an 8 o'clock tip. But I knew at that time it was going to lead to a quicker turnaround than would be ideal. But there's no excuses. Everybody has quick turnarounds in this business. We've got to figure out a way to be our best come Sunday.
Steve Peichel said last night that he thinks Michigan's the best team he's seen in the Big Ten in 5 years, and he talked about their defense. And I know when fans and perhaps media focus on this matchup, the focus is on, what do you do about their offense with their bigs and stuff like that? What challenges do they present defensively? And can you go through how you prepare for another team defensively? I think that's harder for fans to envision, what you do to prepare for a defense.
They're an elite defensive team, elite. And they were elite defensive team, I believe, was it 2019, one of John's teams that went to the Sweet 16, and then the year before, his team that went to the final game and played, I believe Villanova was an elite defensive team too, I believe. So those were two elite defensive teams. This is an elite defensive team as well. They are phenomenal, Bruce, just phenomenal on that end. They're big, they're long, they're physical. And for Steve to say that is a big statement. The best team he's seen in, 4 years or 5 years? 5 years. That is a big statement because you've had Michigan State's been to a Final Four. Purdue was a kind of a tough play away from another Final Four. You've had some incredible teams come through here, so it's quite a thought there.
All right, Andy Evans.
Chris, we've talked to you about, COVID and the fact that there are no fans. Yet in your career, you are 2-0 at home. Going even back the last 5 years, the Buckeyes are 3-0 against the Wolverines when playing here in Columbus. Do you think that there is still going to be some sort of home court advantage for Sunday afternoon's game? And would this be the kind of game where if you had fans available, this is definitely the one where you would like to see the seats filled for this kind of game coming up Sunday?
There's nothing I'd like more. I mean, outside of world peace, I don't think there's anything I'd like more than to be able to open this thing up for Sunday's game. It'd be the hottest ticket in a long, long time, right? It just would. There's not many opportunities this late in the year that provide this type of a matchup. Now, hopefully, both teams can perform at a high enough level where it's an entertaining game. But it would just be a tremendous experience I hate it for our fans. I do. I hate it for our players and our fans. It's reality. I understand it. I'm not taking any issue with it at all. I understand it. But not having fans, I hate that for our players and for our fans.
Do you think that there is still going to be some sort of home court advantage for you guys?
It's minimal. It's minimal, if anything, to be honest with you. From what I've experienced, it's very, very minimal. Slight, if anything. There's not much to it. It's just not much. I wish I could say, because we have 3 top 10 opponents coming in. I wish I could say it's what it normally is. It's negligible advantage, I think, in a lot of ways. Slight, if anything.
All right, thanks, Chris.
And we'll finish up with Tony Gerdeman.
So I think you guys have like 7 or 8 players that can give you 10 to 15 points on any given night. Sometimes they'll give you, 0 to 4, depending on who it is. Do you like having that many guys that can produce, or would you rather have, I know what I'm getting every night from these 3 or 4 guys? And which is more difficult for teams to defend, do you think?
I think depth can help you through the course of a conference season, okay? Because you go on the road like we did last night. We needed a variety of guys to step up. I don't know how much depth really helps you in an NCAA tournament setting necessarily. You've seen teams, some teams play a lot of guys. Carolina typically has, and you've seen like Villanova run a 7 or 8 man rotation and win 2 national championships in the last 10 years. So I don't know that necessarily helps you in terms of a tournament, but I do think over the course of what we now play 20 league games, depth can help you. Do I have a preference? I'm still trying to figure that out a little bit. I just think with this year's team, it's best for this year's team right now to continue to play the number of guys we're playing.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Dan.
Yep. See you on Sunday somewhere.
Thanks, guys.